Hey, everybody. Thanks for being patient. Um, Dr. Amy is definitely worth being patient. So I just wanted to tell her also thanks for continuing to try so that she could connect up with us. And I do have a message for all of you. Check this out. The sun doesn't set tonight until 10:36 p.m. here in the great state of Alaska. Woo, woo. So that makes all of us up here very, very happy because it's been a long winter. So those of you in Alaska, give me a little comment below and say, we rock in the last frontier. So at any rate, I'm super excited to be with my friend and colleague, Dr. Amy. And Dr. Amy's coming to us from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And let's just start with Amy. Like, how did you get here, and like what caused you to specialize? I also want to let you guys know, if you're watching this and you would like to have an opportunity to be an associate in this amazing woman's office, we are looking for you. So
Yeah.
make sure that you message me or message Dr. Amy. I will be putting her website below and her Facebook information. I can always get your information onto her. Or if you know of someone who is looking for a great associate position, please let us know. So let's just jump in and get started. What's up in Coeur d'Alene?
Well, thanks for having me.
Uh-huh.
Is there feedback there?
No, you're good.
Okay. I can't see the comments either, so you'll have to tell me because I had to jump on my phone, everybody, because for some reason my computer wasn't letting me connect. So forgive me if it's bouncy because I'm also holding it up, getting practice here with my selfie videos. So, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's sunny here. We have also had a very long winter, so we're all very excited to have sun again finally this week. And I don't know what time the sun sets here, but it's definitely longer days, so that's exciting. So let's see, I've been in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, practicing for about 9 years, just a little over 9 years. And I went to Sherman. So we'll get into our practice style a little bit here later, I think, but I like to think of myself as a pretty straight, philosophically based chiropractor, but it's interesting because I have a lot of other things in my practice also. But they're very separate and distinct, and we are very clear in our communication about what is chiropractic and the wonder and amazing healing that can happen with chiropractic adjustment, a specific neurologically based chiropractic adjustment. But we do have a lot of other things that we do here, specifically with kids with neurodevelopmental disorders and adults in our focus program. So this practice is a little bit unique is because of that, and so maybe we'll get more into what the practice is specifically. Did you want me to speak about the practice a little bit?
Yeah. Let's talk about like how did you start? Like, was when you started in practice, was that your niche? Like, I want to serve families that have children with special needs and neurodevelopmental disorders. Like, how did that all come about?
So I talk about this a lot in the lectures and webinars that we do, but really I was raised in a home with a brother who had some challenges developmentally. He had some challenges academically, behaviorally. He had a lot of gut issues. He's very dysregulated, lots of challenges. Great, amazing human, and has had a lot of recovery, but a lot of challenges. And so that was my brother, who was my best friend. And my father was a classical optometrist, and he was seeing his own child. My mom's a school teacher, my dad was an optometrist, and he was seeing his own child really struggling with learning and development, behavior, and all this stuff. And he was going, why is this? And why is it that when I take my kid, my son, to these tutors that specialize in dyslexia and learning and behaviors and all this stuff, they're doing a lot of things with light and with his eyes and with movements. And he was like, I'm the light guy, I'm the eye guy. Why don't I know what's going on with my own kid? And so he became, some of you may know this term, but he became what's called a neuro-optometrist. optometrists are kind of strange, kind of like we are in chiropractic. They have the neuro-optometrists have 3 different names. They're called neuro-optometrists, behavioral optometrists, or developmental optometrists. They all do the same thing, vision therapy. And really what they're saying is, hey, it's not prescribing lenses, but it's about, hey, these eyes, they're the brain sticking out of the head, right? They tell us a lot about what's going on with the brain. And so we can help kids if we see abnormal patterns or usage or development of the eyes. And so I grew up in that household. I grew up doing vision therapy. I grew up getting PowerPoint lectures of neuroanatomy, and I hated it. I was like, this is horrible. I hate this. So I never thought that I would do anything with this. And I was like, be a chiropractor because I hear they help people with back pain. And I was determined, and I learned, like, I'm sitting there in like first quarter and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this chiropractic stuff actually has a lot to do with the brain. And these chiropractors don't really know what these neuro-optometrists are talking about, and the neuro-optometrists don't really know what the chiropractors are talking about. Nobody's really talking about nutrition like together, and gut healing and biomedical remediation, all that. And so I just was like, hey, I am on this earth to put this stuff together. And so I did. And that's where I didn't think that this was the niche I would be in. I started my family wellness, neurologically based straight chiropractic clinic 9 years ago with the thought of, I don't know how to put this stuff together into a program to help these kids with autism and learning challenges, but I know it needs to happen. And 6 years ago, I opened the Focus program, which is alongside my practice, and that is combining what we call neurodeflective retraining, which is my technique that I've created from behavioral optometry, developmental psychology, functional neurology, all that. So we do that. That's one of the pillars. One of the pillars is gut healing, and the other pillar is obviously correcting the subluxation. And so that's our practice. It's really exciting, and we get to work with a lot of kids and help see a lot of kids recover and improve their expression of life, which is cool.
So let's talk about, and Smitty, this one's for you. Your approach is different in that building a team, and the team is supporting the family. And I really love that your heart and your mission isn't like, I'm just going to take care of this child, but let's recognize that this whole child has a team of people, and this child who has special needs means their family has special needs and special circumstances. And I love your whole approach. So can we go there?
Yeah, let's go there.
Okay.
I love that. So yeah, we work with, I have I'm a family chiropractor, right? I'm like, hey, every person needs to be checked and have their spine corrected and maintained. Like that's where I'm at, right? But my heart is with these kids with neurodevelopmental disorders. So we bring these kids in and we assess them, and we start working with them, and we start helping them improve underlying function and improve and change their neurological underpinnings. And it is incredible the things that change. These deflected behaviors, these behavior challenges, these learning challenges, these stimming, these sensory issues, they literally just melt away. It's so cool. And as that happens, it is so critical that we're also working with the whole team, the whole family, because for many reasons. One, these parents and siblings are under chronic stress, just as it is living with a child with neurodevelopmental challenges, right? So they need to be adjusted. We need to help them have a better life. But also, we need to help them change their patterns, their processing patterns, their behavioral patterns as the child we're working with in the Focus program is healing and changing, and their expression of life is different. Their behaviors are different. The way they move through their world is different. If the family doesn't also heal and change, then we're stuck in the same problem. In fact, we have sometimes a bigger problem, and it's manifested differently. So it's really—
So stop for just a second there. Can you give us some specific examples of what this looks like, so that docs who are watching and there are non-chiropractors who are watching as well can relate to what you're saying?
Yeah, so in the actual program, in the Focus program, So obviously I have the chiropractic area, and then we consult with the nutrition and we do some food sensitivity testing and all that stuff. The actual neurodeflective retraining, kids come into our office twice a week. While they're in the program, they have to be committed for at least 12 months. Sometimes it's much longer. I have a kiddo that came to us 5 years ago, and we're still working with him, but when he came, he was highly aggressive, stuck in a sympathetic dominant state, nonverbal, and severely affected on the autism spectrum, right? I like to say he was doing autistic things because I don't believe we should peg these kids and say they are autistic, right? They're currently doing some autistic things. We can group them in there. So anyways, so some people graduate in 6 months, and some people have been with us for years. But when they come in, when they're in the program, they're getting checked, their spine's checked and adjusted if necessary twice a week. And they're in 30 minutes twice a week with one of our coaches, which is a neurodeflective retraining coach from Focus Coaches. I train them in this work, and they're doing one-on-one work 30 minutes of time. So in here we have, in our office, in the front we have the chiropractic waiting room. In the back we have a secondary waiting room for the families to wait, and we have 3 focus rooms, which are rooms that are decked out with, bean bags and balls hanging from the ceilings and balance beams and all this stuff, where we're doing this body movements, eye movements, cognitive games to stimulate change in the brain, to help them move through developmental patterns in their brain. And so go back and fill the holes that they may have missed in development. And so I like to call the first 2 pillars of our program tilling the soil. That's the chiropractic and the gut healing. It's like, hey, we got to get this kid ready to where we can actually make change. We need to get him out of that fight or flight scenario, which all of you chiropractors know. We all know this. We have to do that first before we go in and start trying to actually rewire and make change. And so that's why I think this work is so effective and so exciting and so fun, because you have kids that have been in traditional therapy, speech therapy, OT, those types of therapies, which I'm not saying are bad. There's a time. Yeah. They've been in them for, 10 years, and they're not really making forward progress. And the thought process isn't really that they can make forward progress, but more that they're coping. Like, let's teach them coping strategies.
Okay.
And they come here and we start working and we start helping them heal.
So when you said that parents, like the whole team, and Dr. Amy is referring to the team as like the family unit and those who support and help them. Mm-hmm. So when your comment was that if we don't train the whole team, one mm-hmm. person of the team, the child, right, could be advancing like to here, but the family is still stuck here. Give us an example of what you're talking about.
Okay. So, let's say I have a kiddo right now. So when we first started, he was 5 when we started working with him, and he didn't have a formal diagnosis, which, some people want a diagnosis. Sometimes they need it to open some doors. I'm indifferent to having a diagnosis or not. We'll just say that. So this kiddo didn't have a diagnosis. If he had one, he would have been on the autism spectrum somewhere. Okay. So he had a lot of sensory sensitivity. Auditory verbal sensitivities were his main thing that he would deflect from. So if he gets in an area, comes in the office, there's lots of kids, it's really loud, he completely shuts down, he reduces the complexity of his world by doing this. And he literally, that sympathetic dominant, he's just here, right? So a coping strategy that mom and dad have created for him, which was great at the time, was noise canceling headphones, right? And they would get really just around like, oh my gosh, we're going to the grocery store, we're going to a football game. First of all, those things weren't really an option for a long time because it would be meltdown, shut down, not a good thing. Well, as this kiddo started to heal and started to recover, we've been working with him for about a year, and he's like in a neurotypical classroom now. He is out and about. You wouldn't even notice that you would not be able to tell that he was. Yay! However, mom and dad are still hypersensitive, and they like have this PTSD thing, which is totally understandable, that they need to still be giving him coping, really small example for him. There's a lot of them actually, but giving him those sensory deflections.
Oh, okay.
So first of all, we had to help mom and dad kind of understand what's going on there, and then and then we need to retrain their behaviors and their patterns and help them heal because they've been in a sympathetic dominant state forever too. You know, one of the interesting things that I think is I say, like, I haven't marketed for my chiropractic practice since I opened the focus practice, because people come in and we start taking care of their kids and then they get it because we're teaching them about the nervous system, and they're like, okay, well, everybody needs to be under care. And so they all fall into the chiropractic practice, which is great because that's how it should be. You know?
Yes. Yes. I love that so much. So let's go back to so you didn't really open your practice with this in mind, though, right? Well,
with it in mind, kind of, yeah. I mean, I knew that there was a way to put this stuff together. There was a way to do this, but I didn't know how. When I opened my practice, I couldn't procedurally, I mean, it was something that's not been created, you know? And so it was like, I don't know. I know that these schools of thought need to be working together, but I couldn't visualize it, you know? And so I opened my practice and I just would, for years, I just think on it. And I was like, one day it'll come to me. And about 4 years into practice or so, it like hit me like a lightning bolt. It was weird. And I was like, okay, this is how we do it. And that was it. So then I don't know, that was it. I put it together procedurally. It was like the information was there, but I didn't know how to make it a viable business, a viable like procedures. I just didn't know how to do it. And so we did that. And by the way, we're 100% cash practice on both sides. And so people that
say that again.
Yeah. We are 100% cash. We've been 100% cash from the beginning. And so the people that come, we're not the cheapest in town, you know, they really value, there's a really good exchange of value going on, and it makes practice really enjoyable, and it makes it so people are really committed to the work and, you know, committed to the homework we're giving them, and committed, you know, just to helping their families heal. I see a question I saw come up.
Yeah. And you know, I don't know why it's not coming up. Just, so Stacy asked, and Stace is you guys may know each other. So Stace actually just lives about 30 minutes from me. And her question is this: I struggle with how to see the volume I have and have special accommodations or room for severe special needs.
Yeah. That's tricky. That is tricky. You do have to make a choice, right? Especially in the beginning when the kids are still highly ingrained in their deflective processing patterns, meaning like they're still pretty darn sensitive. And, you know, I've had kids where we've had to only see them at lunchtime. You know, we have a pretty busy practice. We're not the busiest practice in the world. I don't know if you want my numbers or not, but we're, you know, we're busy. We have busy adjusting blocks. It gets loud. We see in my chiropractic practice, we're about 50 to 60% kids. So it's crazy.
Yes.
Wild, and we have open adjusting, so it's even more, you know, crazy. And some of the kids that come in for focus, we know there's no way that's working for them until maybe later. And so you just have to make that call, or you could potentially build it, you know, have a separate room that's got a closed door, and build in some accommodations and build in some sensory things to help with the sensory processing, to help them cope. You know, a weighted blanket, roll them up in a yoga mat, give them different options, a trampoline, a sensory wall, you know, with Velcro on the wall or different tactile things on the wall. You could build in these different options in a room. But I really think that there are some kids that if you want to work with them, you're going to have to decide that, okay, you come at the end of an adjusting block, and my staff knows that when you come, you go right in the room. Doesn't matter if there's a wait, you go first. And so that is a consideration.
Which it's okay, because Dr. Amy has niched herself in her community as that. Like,
Right.
that individuals know Dr. Amy is a specialist in Coeur d'Alene. And so if a family comes in and they're whisked right away, no one in the reception room is like, oh, I can't believe they got to go first. If
Yeah.
anything, they're gracious and they're understanding, and you know, everyone that, you know, that's one thing I love about creating your tribe in your town is that everyone's pulling together. Everyone works together. Everyone like gets it that maybe this is going to be their time, that they have to wait a little bit longer, because guess what? Last
Right.
month, they were the ones that needed the extra help, or they were the ones that needed the extra space. And I remember actually the dentist that I took my kids to when they were young, he was pediatric only, no matter how much you begged, because trust me, I begged for him to be my dentist and he wouldn't. And he was one of the few doctors, actually, he had his practice, and he was also an instructor at the University of Michigan Dental School. And like when you walked in, like the main treatment area was over here. And this was one big glass room that was just for special needs. And he had dedicated time, and that was just for them. And I just always remember thinking, I love that. I love that we're taking into account that we can't, despite what public school is doing of just trying to mainstream everybody, everyone can't fit in that. And not only does the child with special needs suffer, but the families that don't have special needs, they suffer too, all because we're trying to make everybody the same. Everyone isn't the same. Like, newsflash, not everyone's the same.
Right. I think one thing on that is that something that is interesting that I've noticed in the practice is that, you know, sometimes we have kids that have complete meltdowns, right? And they're like, sometimes it's aggressive, sometimes it's really loud, screaming. I mean, and it can be pretty intense sometimes because of the work that we do. We choose to do this work, right? And the chiropractic side of my practice that might not be in this building because they're here for the focus program, it's been so cool to see their reaction when maybe there's an intense situation going on where it's kind of all hands on deck with our staff to help this kid get through this moment and help these parents. And it has been so cool to see this reaction from the other people, just going like love it on those parents, taking a step back, waiting as long as they need to. And then when I get back in the adjusting room with them, they're like, thanks for taking care of those kids. Thanks for taking care of them.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I think that's cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Not get into that. And you know what?
No.
They're not. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's okay. And it doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that that's not the fit for them. So let's go back, and for those who maybe have just joined, let's talk about what are those pillars. So I want to address what are those pillars, Amy, and then also when a child comes in and their parents are like, oh, we need help. How do you start that process when there are these pillars? Like, how do they kind of funnel through? Because I think that can be really confusing. And you and I both know a lot of new docs, like their heart and their passion is to serve families and to help kids with special needs and families with special needs. And they don't really know, like, how do you work through that process? So let's start with what are the pillars, and then how do we work through that?
Okay, so the pillars in my program are, there's 3 official and 1 unofficial. The first one is chiropractic, right? Tilling the soil. The first 2 are tilling the soil, getting out of fight or flight. And anybody in their practice can do this right now. You can talk to people. It doesn't matter if you have my focus program. I'm not even training doctors to do this. I'm training parents to do some of this work. So, but there's other people out there training doctors to do similar stuff, not the same, but similar. You can talk to parents right away about, look, talk about sympathetic dominance, talk about fight or flight, talk about that keeps them stuck in their brainstem, and that does not encourage healthy, development, and then can cause challenges. So you can do this just being a chiropractor, right? Not just, it's amazing to be a chiropractor, but being a neurologically based specific chiropractor. So that's pillar 1. Pillar 2 is gut healing, nutritional changes, and that's different. We talk about healing diets versus elimination diets. In my practice, I like to do the IgG food sensitivity test. It's easy. It's a finger prick. I use Meridian Valley Labs. It's cheap. It's good. It gives us a little more objective information as to what kids might be having challenges with. And then we talk about a gut healing approach. Really, you can start really, really simple with that. You can get way more complex with it, which I would encourage if you're interested in this and studying more and looking at methylation and looking at epigenetics. But you can start right now by just saying, look, the gut is a second brain. We got to heal the gut. Let's look at the gut. Let's start on, even if you don't want to do the testing, let's start on making some positive dietary changes, reducing maybe gluten, casein. Maybe that's just where you start. Whatever, you talk to them, teach them about how that brain and the gut are connected. So first step, chiropractic, neurologically based specific chiropractic. Second step, the gut healing. The third step is the work that I do here that I've created called neurodiflection training. So that I'm working on some training modules to train parents with, so they can really be doing that at home themselves, and it's all accessible online. We're going to be launching that within the next 6 months. We have a good launch coming in June for part of that. But it's all online. It's very affordable. It's very attainable for people. And then I'm going to be sending them all back to you guys, chiropractors, because they need to be doing the first 2 pillars with you guys, with, getting their spines cleared and working on the dietary stuff. And I'm just training the parents how to do the rewiring work, the body movements, the eye movements, all that stuff. That's the third. In our program, the process that I do, and I would recommend people do this. I actually do not accept anybody into our focus program, even for an assessment, until they've been to a lecture. Now, I don't do that on my chiropractic side, but I'm kind of tempted. I've heard of other doctors doing that, but I don't do it on the chiropractic side. I do a consultation first, and then we do the neurostructural exam from there, or the chiropractic exam. But on the focus side, I feel it's critical that people understand the big picture of what this work is, how the brain develops, why what we're doing in these pillars is going to make a change. And they need to get the big idea first, and then the follow through is beautiful. If they get it, then and they resonate with it, they understand it after a lecture, which I do once a month, then they're in. We go through the exam is just, okay, let's get the information, and then the patient report conference is just like, okay, here's the information and when are we starting? But they've already had all the aha moments by the time we get there. Our program is, like I said, it's direct pay. We're cash, and it's not, I wish I could make it more affordable for people, but it's pretty intensive work. And so it's a good investment. I know that, but what they're getting is really, a lot of change and recovery and healing for their kids. So that's why it's so important, though, that they get the big idea, because it's not I require a 12-month commitment, minimum 12 months to be in the program. So that's why we do the informational lecture. And I would encourage everybody, you want to start working with these kiddos and helping them, you can help them right now with the information you have. And then you can pursue more information, sure, but you can help them. Start doing lectures, start doing a workshop. That's right, they get their lives back. It's worth every penny. And so start doing lectures, do an informational lecture. I'm going to do some webinars if you guys want to know about this. I'm teaching more about what I actually teach on the brain development, what we do, and use the information to do a lecture in your town and talk about, just getting these kids healed neurologically and how that can change, and then accept them in for a consultation,
So let's talk about focus for a second, just so that docs are understanding what that program is, if that's okay. And also, like, the training isn't really like it's coming, but let's talk about instead in your practice, what do you mean by like accepted into the program, and what does that look like? So let's hit that one.
So you all know what a typical family wellness chiropractic practice looks like. That's the one side of my practice. The other side is the focus program. So that's where we have a lecture. I do them once a month, or a workshop. And people can, I just do them in the community and online, and people can come to one of those. Once they've come to a workshop, then they qualify for the exam if they choose to do it. The exam, we charge $600 for an exam. And so then we can do the exam with their kiddos. There's 3 different steps to that. One is a consultation I do on the phone with the parent after they filled out the paperwork, and it's pretty in-depth paperwork, looking at their developmental history and everything. And then the kiddo comes in. We do the basic chiropractic exam. I use the Insight. Love it. I think it's really important to have the objective indicators of neurological compromise. And so we look at that, take x-rays if I need them, do my normal chiropractic assessment, and then we go into the neurodeflective retraining, where it's myself and one of my coaches, and we're going through primitive reflexes. We do checks on gross motor skills, fine motor skills, ocular motor skills. We're testing, we call them games, we're playing games with the kids, and we're just testing these different areas to see where they are, where their holes might be in development. And then I put it all together and I sit down with the parents, and because they've been to a lecture where I go through these developmental hierarchies, when I start going over, I see stress on the nervous system. Here's what that does. I see, this is what I'm finding with, the dietary changes we want to make. I saw primitive reflexes that were there, gross motor issues. They're like, yep, they already get it. And so then we say, okay, they're either accepted into the program or not. The program then is a minimum commitment of 12 months. And it's sometimes longer, sometimes a kid graduates sooner, but basically it's twice a week for 12 months, where they come in, I check their spine, and they go with a focus coach, and they work for 30 minutes. And then they do that twice a week until we say they're there, which is we are no longer finding areas of deficiency, and then we graduate them from the program. And at that point, which if a lot of this, I'm going over this really quickly, but the whole work, the neurodeflective retraining work, which is the really cool and fun and unique stuff, is based on 9 developmental hierarchies, which I've taken these developmental hierarchies, like, as an example, primitive reflex. As the brain develops, bottom up, back to front, inside out, we go through primitive reflex, gross motor, fine motor, ocular motor. We go through movement, primitive reflex, movement, touch, auditory, verbal, visualization. As the brain develops, we see different windows into the brain, right? I know I'm going over this stuff quickly, but
could you see my eyes just like So if anyone else watching is a little bit lost, you're in good company.
Fast talker.
So Dr. Stacy just took the words right out of my mouth. I want to know everything you know.
I would love to teach you. It's really cool, and it's really not that hard. And it's freaking amazing, the changes that you can unlock in these kids. I mean, from body awareness to verbalization. One of the hierarchies is just development of language, right? So we have kids that come in that are non-verbal that become verbal, and we are not working on language. We're not a speech pathologist. In fact, I have speech therapists that refer to us and that I work with, and OTs that we refer back and forth and we work with. It's like this whole community of going, what do we need to do to help this kid, right? And is it just drilling the weak spots, or is it finding the neurological underpinning that's created a developmental block? That's what I'm talking about. And so that's what we do. That's what the whole program is. So there you go. I can talk on that, obviously.
Hey, Amy, let me ask you something. Do you find, like, every time we talk about this, I feel like like what you just said, that everyone, it's not this, like, I feel like so often there's within our profession this mentality that it's us versus them. Yeah. I personally didn't feel that. I can remember like one interaction, well, actually two, with the medical profession that, actually it's kind of funny. I debated live on radio with, the chief pediatrician at University of Michigan about vaccines. And I kept asking him questions and he got so mad, he hung up on live radio. And I'm like, hello, like, where did you go? Because like, how do you fight innate intelligence? Like, I'm sorry, but man cannot create something greater than innate intelligence. So at any rate, but it seems like what you've created in Coeur d'Alene is a culture with the family and with the chiropractor and with the speech pathologist and with the optometrist and with the schools where everyone is like pulling together for this family and this kid, like, let's go. Give us like tips on how did you do that?
Okay, so that's a little.
I mean, one is just because you're awesome, and like this woman is just amazing. But go ahead, I'll let you speak.
Thanks. No, I'm not that amazing, but thank you. Okay. Obviously, does every OT and speech therapist and teacher and love me and this? No. But I will tell you that the ones that don't. Have not been to my lectures and have not worked with kids that I've worked with together. The ones that do, I have occupational therapists, multiple, whose kids are in my program. I have a naturopath whose kids in my program. I have an MD whose kids in my program. I have a nurse practitioner whose kids just graduated from my program. A special ed teacher, kid in my program. You know what I mean? And it's like these people. That's why you have to do the lecture. You have to do the information. You have to like take your fears away. And trust me, like I have people show up to lectures sometimes that I'm like, oh shit, I had a couple MDs and I had like the head of the behavioral health come to one, like I was doing one at the library one time and I was like, who's that? Right. And I'm not gonna like water down my message, and I'm not saying, hey, what they do is bad. I think that's the biggest thing. I'm saying
yes.
Together, and hey, those kids that you're not seeing results with, or those families that are like, we want something more, send them over, send them to my free lecture. Send them to my free lecture, and then they can decide from there. And I'm friendly, so I'm not scary. I put on this lecture. I'm not bashing anybody in it. I'm saying,
yes,
like, this is cool. Let's work together. Last lecture last month, I had Stacy, you're funny. I had an OT, the head speech therapist, and then head special ed teacher, somebody from the local elementary schools come. And after they've been calling, I have a meeting with them this week because they want to incorporate this stuff into their trainings for all of their teachers. And I'm like,
yeah, I can pencil you in on that.
Yeah, I'm like, so. How people are going to take it, but as long as you are being straight, you're giving information and you're not bashing people. Like, you have to come with that spirit, I think, in any practice of collaboration, because hey, what all these professionals do, there's value in it. We might not totally agree, but there's value in what they're doing. So just like there's value in what we're doing, it's not always the right fit for everybody. So I think that's how.
I think that's one thing that makes you stand out though too, and is like you stay in your lane. You're not like saying, you know what, I know more about the pharmaceutical stuff that you're giving to kids. It's like, this is my lane and I own it. And anyone who's wanting to niche themselves, it is so imperative that, number one, you do have a niche. And number two, that you own that space. Like Dr. Amy owns that space. She's not trying to own this one over here of the ADD, ADHD, like the medical route of neurodevelopmental disorders. She owns this one. So when someone wants to rain on her parade with their stuff, all she has to say is, you know what, like, I'm not an expert there, but this lane, this one's mine. So let's talk, and not like put up your dukes, but let's talk. let's see, where we agree and where we disagree, and let's make it available to families so that they can make that choice. And I think that that is just like so important. So I know lots of docs who are watching are like, all right, how do I find out more? How do I get in touch? Like what, let's talk about what focus is again, so that when they see it, they understand. Like, all right, so everyone, just so you know, it's not something you buy and like just start putting into your practice. That's not what Dr. Amy has done. So let's just get that out there. What is focus?
It's a drugless approach to improving underlying function for kids and adults with neurodevelopmental neurobehavioral challenges. So autism, ADD, ADHD, learning challenges, dyslexia, hypersensitivity, sensory integration, and comorbid conditions, Tourette's. We have a kiddo who just graduated that had, or is in the program now, pretty severe Tourette's, and he's doing amazing, And so, anyways, that's what the program is. Yeah, I'm not selling it and training chiropractors because I don't expect anybody to have this be their life mission like it is mine, right? Like, be a chiropractor. Like I said, I'm a pretty straight chiropractor, actually, which sounds weird because I have all this other stuff, but I am. And so I think chiropractors should, do that and let me, with my experience and the path that I've been on, which was before I was a chiropractor, with this information, have a resource online and with seminars to train parents to do some of this work and put together their teams and their community. And their team, one of the people, like the foundational person on their team, needs to be a very specific neurologically based chiropractor. So like right now I'm talking with getting our first live seminar going with a doctor in Nebraska, and his kiddo was a graduate of our program, and he's been talking it up, and he's like wanting to put it in the practice. And so we decided, no, let's not do that. Let me come and do a seminar and train the parents and the professionals in your area, counselors, teachers, that kind of stuff, to do this work. And then I'm telling these families that they need to come to you twice a week, or whatever your clinical recommendation is. And so it's good for your practice, it's good for them, and it's good for me because I can get this information out there. So be looking for more trainings and that kind of stuff. We have a community that I just launched, which is a little bit separate, with a business partner of mine. She's actually one of the moms in my program. Her kid's been in my program for 5 years. He was one I spoke about earlier. And we started a business called Navigate Your Healing because there's so much confusion in this world of autism and neurodevelopmental disorders about what to do and can my kid improve and where do I start? And there's so many different opinions. And she's very connected in the autism world, if you will. She's one of the Thinking Moms, the Thinking Moms Revolution. She's written for them in their books. And so her kiddo, she's one of these moms that's lived all over the place to find treatment for her son. And she ended up here, and we've had tremendous results. And so we're committed to getting information out there in a very accessible, affordable way for people. So you can join our Facebook community, which is Navigate Your Healing. And we're having our official launch of our website. So we're going to be giving products out, which is where I will release these first training products. So that's being released in June. But you can follow us on Facebook, Navigate Your Healing, and just kind of watch for updates there. And I don't remember what else you wanted me to talk about.
So, well, I mean, you and I both know that chiropractors, they want to put this kind of stuff into their practice, right? But they don't know how, but their heart says, I want to, right? So there's unconscious incompetence. I don't even know what I don't know. Then there's conscious incompetence. I know that I don't know how to do this in my practice. Then there's conscious competence. I know that I know that I know. And then there's mastery. So let's talk about what you said, the doctor in Nebraska. So what's happening is you're going there. He's bringing his community in of families and specialists to all hear what Dr. Amy has to say. So basically the same talk that you're doing in your office that families have to come to before their children can be potentially accepted into your 12-month program. And then are you like helping him through developing the focus teams in his practice? Or is it just like you start adjusting these kids and he figures out the rest of it?
Yeah, so the concept there is he brings, you all have people in your practice that you're like, why am I not giving this kid what's that chiropractic with this sensory learning issue, but why am I not seeing it? And so, we bring those people together. So he's got those people like ready for a seminar he has for like 2 years, and reaching out to the local counselors and teachers and people in the community that want to learn. And then I'm just going to go and deliver the seminar. And as part of that, it's teaching them that they need to have the tilling the soil, the first two game changers here, which is the chiropractic and the gut healing. And so I can make recommendations for the doctors on what to do there if they need help with the gut healing protocols. But really, we just are training the parents how to do some of this work at home, the neurodeflective retraining at home with their kids. And so that's what it is. That's what the online modules are going to be. So you as a doctor don't have to be doing the primitive reflexes and looking at their ocular motor patterns. And you don't need to be doing that. Some of you I know want to be doing that. And so maybe that's something separate. There may be a select few people that I want to train to do that. But as many of you know, there's a challenge within our profession, I think, which is that we want to do this stuff, but we may not be able to follow through with it. And look, like I had to build out a whole separate office to do this work. And so that's just not the right fit for everybody. And so there may be a select few, but I think we can have a bigger impact and have more accessibility and make the biggest change if we train the parents to do this and we train them how to put their team together in their area, which includes a chiropractor, the chiropractor is foundational. So that's the plan with that.
Right. So, and I really have like the utmost respect for you, Amy, because Amy hasn't said, I just want to figure out something that I can, like, I'm doing like so much success in my practice and I know people are wanting this. So I just want to put something together and get it out there and chiropractors will buy it. And I don't really care if they use it or not. I just want to like sell it. And that is not what Amy is doing, even a tiny, 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 tiny bit. So you're not going to see like focus for sale all over the place. That's not what it's about. So I will tell you, I am going to bat for you though, Doc, who has the big heart, who wants to, like the Dr. Stacy Lowe's and individuals that I personally know as well, where their heart is and where their commitment is, and that they are subluxation based, and that they have the capacity to be able to not become Dr. Amy, but to replicate what she's doing in other parts of the country. So, at any rate, we'll just let you know we're working on it because it is such just an amazing gift for families, and I love that like Smitty put on my Facebook page when I said that we were doing this, Amy. He was like, "Well, what about the parent? Like, what about the whole family? Because it's not just the one member, it affects everybody." So that's one of the things I really love about Dr. Amy's work, is that no one's getting neglected. And it's not just like the whole family's getting adjusted, the whole family's being trained on not only where we are now, but trained along the process of healing. And I just think that is awesome. So I know it's getting late. So any last minute comments or words to our attentive audience late in the evening on the East Coast?
Yeah, it is pretty late, huh? For me, I'm sorry you broke up there.
Oh yeah. Any last minute comments or things that you want to say before we kick off?
Thanks for listening. I'm really excited I've just been kind of tucked away in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and doing this work, and really excited about it. Like I said before, like I really feel that I was placed on this earth with one foot in one profession and one foot in another so that I could be a bridge. And I never wanted that, never was like seeking that. And it was just like, wow, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So that is really cool. I look forward to maybe training some other doctors in the future. I love this work so much and it has to be done right. But I am looking forward to getting it out there in a bigger way to flood chiropractors' practices with these kids because they all need to be adjusted and get parents the tools that they need to make a big change. Because a lot of times these parents are feeling really, they're very isolated, they're very lost, and they're basically being told in the traditional settings that there's really nothing they can do except for just cope. And that's just not true. It's just not true. So with that, I am obsessed, in your words, with finding an associate doctor.
Yes.
On the chiropractic side, because I really, really, really need to take the focus training. Right now I'm doing all of it, and I'm a mom of a 2-year-old and a wife. And so I need help. I really need, I'm so excited to find the right person to join our team that wants to learn about kids and kids with challenges and is open to working with kids and kids with challenges and adjusting them and help us build and maintain and grow on the chiropractic side. And so please, if you're interested, if you know anybody that might be interested, we are a really high energy, fun family practice, and we want you.
That is very true. So please either message me, message Amy. I will be putting all of her information below in the contact section. So Dr. Amy, after a long day in practice today, thank you so much. I love you. I'm obsessed. We're obsessed together, and chiropractic rocks. So thanks so much, all of you, for joining us, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you. Have a great
All right.
day.
See ya. Bye.